We all know the story. Lucifer, the rebel, was cast from heaven for defying God. He became Satan, the adversary, the embodiment of evil. But what if that story is upside down? What if everything you've been taught about good and evil, God and Satan, heaven and hell, was written by the victor of a cosmic war? In the new book, The Exile of God, we explore a radical but deeply compelling alternative theory that Lucifer won the war in heaven, cast out the true creator, and then stole his identity. And that singular deception has shaped every major religion, every sacred text, and every act of so-called divine wrath we've come to accept. The Bible, the Torah, the Quran, all speak of a war in heaven. Tradition tells us that Lucifer rebelled and was cast out. But what if the story is inverted? What if Lucifer won that war? What if the one cast down wasn't the rebel, but the true creator? In the Exile of God, the secret history, Lucifer stages a celestial coup, seizing the throne of heaven and branding the original God as a traitor, a being now referred to as Satan. And from that moment on, history, theology, and truth were rewritten. Lucifer, now enthroned, doesn't destroy humanity. He does something far more insidious. He claims the identity of God. He becomes the object of worship. He wraps himself in glory, righteousness, and divine law, while hiding a heart of conquest and control. The real God? Exiled, forgotten, demonized. He becomes the scapegoat of every spiritual fear. Now look at Scripture again, through the secret history lens. A God who demands sacrifice, a God who slaughters nations, a God who punishes curiosity, suppresses knowledge, and divides humanity by tribe, blood, and fear. Does this sound like unconditional love? Or does it sound like a conqueror protecting? A lie? Even the Garden of Eden, was it paradise? Or was it a gilded cage? What if the serpent wasn't a tempter, but a liberator sent by the exiled God to awaken us? What if original sin was the first act of divine rebellion, the first step toward freedom? This isn't just a Christian story. The fingerprints of the usurper appear in many religions. Gods who demand submission, not relationship. Fear-based obedience rather than spiritual discernment. Mediators and hierarchies replacing direct divine connection. Whether it's a god of fire, a jealous lord, or a punisher of thought, the pattern repeats. But beneath it all, across traditions and texts, you'll also find whispers of another God, a quiet presence of mercy, creativity, and light, the one who was cast out, but never left. This book isn't about tearing down faith, it's about restoring it, not blind obedience to inherited dogma, but awakening to a God who dwells within, who invites partnership, not submission. The path of restoration begins when you unlearn the lie and begin listening inward again. Because the true God doesn't demand sacrifice. He doesn't need temples or priests or fear. He just needs one thing, that you remember who you are and who He has always been. The war in heaven never truly ended. It continues in belief, in story, in every soul. But the exile is over. Exile of God, the secret history, is your invitation to question everything and find the truth that was buried in fire.